Okay. So, have you ever been told that you are emotionally unavailable? So, who can relate to this? I know that you guys can relate because this comes up a lot, especially for guys. And I know that for a lot of people, this can be challenging and this can be kind of scary, Like when we talk about being emotionally available to other people, usually it comes up within our intimate relationships, because when we have different relationships like business partnerships, family relationships, friendships, all those people in our lives, coworkers, what's the difference between the coworker or the business partner versus the friend? It's really the way in which you connect with them. So usually you form those emotional bonds and connections with those people that you consider to be more intimate, those friendships, those intimate romantic partnerships, some relatives, and people that you just want to be close to you, right? So why do we struggle so much with being emotionally available, especially for men? This is a big challenge, like I said, for men. So, what's this all about? Like, why do we even struggle with this so much? Well, for the most part, I mean, being emotionally unavailable is really about this fear of intimacy, this fear of getting close to people, this fear of allowing people to get close to you. But one of the reasons why it's so tricky, as you guys know, is because when someone looks at you and they say, this person is just not emotionally available, just, they're just not there. Essentially what the person wants is for you to open up your heart to them. They want to have access to your heart space. So it's challenging for us because when someone wants us to be emotionally available, they want to have access to a heart. Because realistically, I mean, we share emotions with people every single day. From the time that you wake up to the time that you go to sleep, you share emotions all the time. Whether you're upset, frustrated, happy, whatever, we share emotions all the time. But when someone is trying to form a closer, more intimate connection with you, they want to have access to your heart space, right? So that makes it really difficult and challenging and scary for some people, specifically if you know that you've been hurt in the past or you have a history of, painful experiences when getting close to other people, whether it's relatives, friends, romantic partnerships or whatever. But I'm going to talk about, something that you can kind of do to begin to deal with this struggle so that you can start opening up, if you do want to be in healthy, loving relationships. Because if you want to be in healthy, loving relationships, then you have to be willing to do what's necessary to make that happen. And part of that is making yourself emotionally available, right? So, one of the reasons why we get so afraid to make ourselves emotionally available when we've been hurt in the past is because when we're dealing with emotions, we're dealing with essentially the element of water, because that's connected to the sacral chakra. And we're also dealing with the element of air because that's dealing with the heart chakra. And so, the element of water, when you think about it, is it's not always easy to deal with, simply because when you think about water, it's like this free flowing energy, right? It's like the waves in the ocean are like always moving. And one of the reasons, again, why working with emotions and allowing people to access your emotions and sharing that emotional bond can feel scary is because it kind of gives us that feeling of like we can't predict what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're in the water, for example, just picture yourself being in the water and you don't know how to swim. It just feels so scary. Like there's all this anxiety because you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I need to feel grounded and safe and secure. So when we work with emotional energy, we're working with that kind of energy, that can be kind of unpredictable, or at least we think it is, right? And then we're also working with the energy of the heart, because when someone wants you to make yourself emotionally available, they want to have access to your heart. And that's the energy of the element of air, right? And so air is not something that we can contain. Okay. We cannot contain air. We can't see air. It is free flowing. It's the only element that we can't even see. And so air energy is like something that again is like not predictable. In other words, when we're feeling emotions and someone wants to have access to our heart and our emotional body, if we've been hurt before, we're not going to easily want to open up to them in that way, because essentially we're afraid that we're not going to be able to get the security that we need. In other words, when you think about the relationships in your life that feel safe to you, anybody in your life that feels safe, that person feel part of why they feel safe is because they give you a certain kind of predictability. There's a certain kind of certainty. You feel like there's a certain amount of control within that relationship, because it's like if something happens, you kind of know how they're going to respond, how they're going to react. You know that they're trustworthy. You feel safe and secure. That energy of the root chakra, you feel stable and grounded and safe and secure to some degree. And when you've been hurt before, it does not give you that certainty. So when you try to make yourself emotionally unavailable and you shut down, that's your attempt to try and get that stability and predictability and that certainty and that feeling of safety and groundedness. So essentially that's what you're looking for when you choose to shut down. You're essentially trying to prioritize this need to feel secure, safe, grounded, in control, and being able to predict the outcome of a relationship. But if you say that you want to be in a healthy, loving relationship, you cannot choose to just function that way all the time and think that you can still form the emotional bonds that you want to form. So one of the ways that you can begin to deal with that, if you're struggling with being emotionally available and making yourself emotionally available, is finding other ways to get that predictability. Okay. In other words, what I'm saying is that you have to really focus on what you can control. Because right now, when you shut yourself down, you're doing it because it makes you feel in control of the situation. It gives you a certain amount of predictability that, hey, if something goes wrong and this person does something that hurts my feelings, or that evokes some kind of uncomfortable emotion, I already know what to predict. I can already predict the outcome, so I feel in control. But in the process of you trying to um, focus so much on staying in control, you lose that connection and that emotional bond that makes that relationship so fulfilling. So instead of you relying so much on shutting down as a way for you to feel in control and get that predictability, you want to start focusing on what you do have control over, right? So one of the things you have control over is your choices, right? That's the first thing you have control over in any given situation. You have control over all of the choices that you make within your relationships. You also have control over your decision to learn how to regulate your thoughts and emotions, which is extremely important, because this is one of the things that's actually going to give you some more certainty and allow you to be more confident that you can take some more risk with opening up your heart and connecting with people on that emotional level, is because you'll know that, okay, when something happens or there's an emotion that comes up that feels scary, that feels uncomfortable, that feels like, it's overwhelming to me, I know I have the tools to work through it because I can process my thoughts and emotions. A lot of people are afraid of emotions because they are so powerful, and it seems as though they're not really predictable, and you don't have any control over them. And the reality is, like I said before, you don't have control over them, but you don't need to have control over them because most of the problems you have is not really with your emotions. Most of the problems you have is with the thoughts that you have about your emotions and the stories that you're telling yourself. So when you experience emotional energy, it may seem like it's something that's stressful, but it's only stressful when you don't know how to process them. Your emotions are actually there to guide you and to teach you something about yourself. And there's wisdom that's available to you when these emotions show up. Every emotion has a meaning and it also has a purpose. So when you learn effective ways to actually process that emotional energy when it comes up, you're going to gain the confidence to know that, hey, whenever I'm in a relationship with someone and there's some kind of emotion that comes up that used to be overwhelming or that is a little bit scary or a little bit intense for me, I know that I can still get through it. I know that I can survive this experience. I know that I can deal with this and I don't have to rely on just shutting down every single time. Right. So you have control over the decision to process your emotions when they come up. And when you choose to do that, then you can be more comfortable taking a little bit more risk with opening up your heart and allowing yourself to form that bond, that emotional bond with somebody else. Another thing you have control over is your decision to who you allow into your heart space, right? Like when it comes to dealing with the heart is a very sacred space. So if you have been hurt before, of course you don't want to just allow anybody into your heart space, but you want to allow somebody there, right? So you have to be intentional about who you allow into that space, and you can't just allow this to be a unconscious experience. In other words, like when you're shutting down like that, this is a very unconscious thing. You want to make it more conscious so that you can be more intentional about how you take care of your heart and who you allow into your heart space. So being more intentional about recognizing, like, what are the qualities of the people that are emotionally safe? What are the qualities of the people that share my values that I want to allow into my heart space? And what are the boundaries that I have? Because your boundaries really are about what you value most. And that's another thing that you can do, that you have control over. You have control over your boundaries, right? So instead of you choosing to live in the world where you're totally shut down and totally emotionally unavailable, where you're trying so hard to remain in control and get some predictability and get some stability, but in the process of doing that, you're missing out on those fulfilling, loving connections. Instead of doing that, you can find other ways to get control. And so you do that by recognizing that you have control over your choices. You have control over your ability to process your thoughts and emotions when they come up so that they don't completely take over you and control your life. You have the ability to be in control over who you allow into your heart space. You also have control over the boundaries that you set, and your boundaries really are about your values and what's most important to you. So, this is one of the ways that you can really begin to start dealing with your struggle of being emotionally available and recognizing that dealing with emotional energy does not always have to be as scary as it appears to be. You just really need to start developing emotional mastery and just learning how to work with those things so you could take more risks, opening up your heart and allow yourself to experience these wonderful relationships. And this is what life is about. This is what makes life worth living. And when you know that you do have the ability to get through it, it's much easier. So I want to know what you guys think about this. How many of you guys are really struggling with making yourself emotionally available? How many of you guys can relate to this? I know I can relate to it because for me, it was a really big thing, and I think it's a big lesson in learning how to take care of your heart and how to choose to be in close relationships with other people that you know are going to take good care of your heart. I think that's really what it's all about. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about this, especially the men, because I'm talking to the guys again today. I'm talking to the guys a lot because I want guys to be more involved in this conversation. And this is something that's very, very common amongst men, especially because guys really are struggling with this whole society experience of keeping hiding the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. This is a whole society issue that guys deal with. So when you're emotionally unavailable, it's so many different reasons. I'm going to be talking about this a lot more because it is a big issue, but it's so many different reasons. I mean, essentially it is fear, the fear of intimacy, the fear of getting close to other people, and this desire to want to remain in control and feel grounded and stable and predicting the outcomes. But sometimes it happens also because, again, you just have not given a voice to your emotions. You don't know how you feel. You're afraid to feel, or at least you think you're afraid to feel. You are totally clueless about, what it is that you feel. So it's like your emotional body is just totally numb. Like you don't have a life or a voice for your emotions. And so it's all different types of reasons why this could happen. But I hope that this tip really helps you guys today to consider opening up, because I do want people to know that when dealing with emotions, I know it can seem very unpredictable and very, scary, because emotions, again, are so powerful, but there are ways to deal with that. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I want to know if you guys are dealing with this, and what have you tried to, as it relates to this particular issue. So I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure that you like, that you comment, that you subscribe, that you share, because I'm going to be doing some really good videos about relationships and emotional mastery within relationships. That is what we're doing here. And I want to, create a beautiful community of people that also are all about healthy relationships. Mental health for men is also another big issue as well. So I look forward to seeing your comments, and I want to see and know what you guys think.